Hi,
Hi.
everyone. We are excited about today's conversation. Um, we're going to be talking about what it takes, like a particular issue that is rampant around how women can be fully who they are in their life and in their relationship, and what it takes for a guy to be in relationship with that woman. It's one of my favorite topics. It's been a passion topic of mine for a long time, and my wife Anna is the perfect person to have this conversation with because we resonate on this topic so much, and I've learned really a ton just from knowing her and being with her. So,
Yeah. And I think the flip side of thank you very much. I feel the same way about you. I think the flip side of what you were just talking about is, my own passion topic, which is what it is to be in, like, for women, especially women's rightness and power. So, yeah, this is the
yeah,
conversation around, like, how do women show up fully and how do men be with women and inside of the shifting, like, dynamic that's happening. Hi, Marissa. Hi, Cassandra. Lovely to see you both. This is a
indeed.
conversation. It's going to be a short one today, but if you all have questions, feel free. Please do. This is an active, live dialogue, and the conversations and the questions that you have feed us.
Yeah.
So like that.
And we are not all knowing. We are open to learning something new that we don't know as well. So,
Yeah.
all right. Um, I wanted to start with something that comes up in my coaching. I've been coaching couples for a long time. For seven, I've been focusing on coaching couples for 7 years, but really I've been coaching people on their sex and their relationship for over 20 years now. And one of the things that comes up again and again and again, say I'm working with a woman, she's in a relationship, she genuinely wants to be more loving. She has a lot of self-doubt about, like, is she mean? Is she a bitch? Is she like, what, like, how can she be more supportive and loving of her partner, her husband or her boyfriend? So great, that's a wonderful, goal. So then we start talking, but it turns out that the behaviors that she's judging herself on, the behaviors that she thinks she needs to do in order to be supportive of her man, to me look a lot like, um, being protective of his fragile ego, basically like coddling him, shrinking her emotional passion so that she's not, she suppresses her emotions to not have him feel threatened. She makes herself smaller in a variety of ways so that he can kind of support some false narrative about him as being strong and the leader and stuff like that. Like the degree to which she has to subsidize his self-esteem, and that is not a good relationship. Like that is not going in the right direction. Because go ahead.
No, no, no. Keep going. Keep going. I
Because
want you to finish your thought.
my personal experience has been the best, actually the only good relationships I've ever been in are with a woman who is being everything that she is and being fully herself. And the relationships that I've been in where a woman is attempting to, like, boost my ego or protect my ego or somehow like lift me up in this false way or have me, like not be too much or not be too passionate. And it can be anything. It can be, she deliberately makes less money than him so that he isn't threatened. She deliberately makes her libido smaller than his so that he can have, the thrill of the pursuit of her, right? All these ways in which women feel like they have to be smaller in order to have a good relationship. And I have never seen or had a good relationship that's based on that.
Well, 100%. If there's so much I want to say about this, what you just said. First of all, let's just call a spade a spade. Uh, um, I don't want to say that you're like a unicorn, but you're unique in that you're not a common specimen. I've been out with a number of men, and as um, enlightened or as forward thinking or as progressive as they are, when it comes down to, I don't know, whatever, the things that we come into our relationships with, which is like our baggage from the past and like yada yada and blah blah blah. I think that it's there's responsibility on both ends. Women are uh, I mean, listen, I'm going to say something that's a little bit like, I don't know, controversial, but women equal parts on a certain level. We want sovereignty, and at the same token, we want men to take care of us. So
Yeah.
that is a can we clone men? Sure, I would love to. Genuinely, there are times when I feel like it's like cornucopia of riches, and I like want him for like every woman on the planet. Um, just not my Ken. If that makes, but like as forward thinking and progressive as men are, we come in with what we come in, and women want two things. We want sovereignty, but we also want the good stuff that we've gotten from the dynamic, and we want to throw away the stuff that doesn't work.
That's
And
right.
men as well want the same thing. They want, a strong woman, but not too strong, not one that actually, has men question their own place in the hierarchy that's unspoken constantly.
Yeah.
Um, so then how do women inside of that, right? You were about to say something, but like, how do women inside of that, like, work at being fully themselves? And how do the men who love us, who are genuinely committed, like they're invested and they're supportive, how do men be inside of those relationships when the dynamic is this unspoken power struggle and dominance thing that happens?
As always, I have an answer, and I'm sure that you have an answer. So do you want to go first?
No, I've asked you, and then you go first. You go first, and then I'll go after. You,
Okay, so so I, there's a couple of myths about men that I wanna dispel. So first of all, I agree with you that I am different from what I hear most men speaking. The only thing I would add to that is that I believe that underneath that, like, men don't know themselves well, and that underneath that, what they actually are hungry for is a lot closer to what I'm describing. They just don't know it. And we as men, like, I had to dismantle a lot of conditioning that I had about what it meant to be in a relationship with women. So I think it is common for men to kind of go in the direction of being macho, masculine leader, which has advantages and disadvantages. There's a lot that women will love about that, and there's a lot that men will love about being that, and a lot that is very toxic about that. Or they go to loving, supportive, you know, and they kind of separate themselves. And I think there's an underneath all of that. Like, to me, all of that is shtick. It's what we as men learned was the algorithm or the method to do it. And underneath that is a real man who, when he taps into his natural confidence, um, his natural intuition that he actually has, his natural confidence that he actually has, that he learns what to do in real time. Is it time for him to take the lead in a way that feels good to her and feels good to him? Is it time for him to follow her lead because she's taking the reins and she's taking it in a direction? So I think there's an authentic, organic way that men, if they tap into their own version of it, not the learned version of it, they can be both. They can
yeah.
do both, and they have to learn to be both.
Yeah, I wanted to delineate some of the things. First of all, it's funny that, Ken and I talk about this stuff all the time, and then he just said something that I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. I like men and women have, I never thought of this before. Men and women have the same challenge, which is how do I trust myself and speak up in a way that actually fosters connection here, as opposed to the script of like being adversarial. How do I like trust myself as opposed to the thing that's being asked of me on some unconscious and conscious level? Both men and women are challenged for that. Women are
Yeah.
challenged differently. Men are challenged in their own way. Men have their script about what it is to be a man, and women have their script, our script about what it is to be a woman.
Yeah.
Um, uh, so my thing about with women is it's the same thing with men. What you're talking about with men, I don't know how men are supposed to do it. For women, to me, like the thing to do, starting from like day one. Let's say today is the day you're going to start. Like, tell the truth. Ongoing, tell the truth. And I don't mean bludgeon people with the truth. I don't mean, there's a difference between telling someone you're an asshole and saying I am upset here, and
Yeah.
there's and I'm feeling angry about something that's going on. Hey, Tommy, it's good to see you, my love.
Mm.
Um, uh, there's a difference between bludgeoning someone with your truth and actually just like saying the vulnerable truth. And there's a difference between like a vulnerable truth and an angry truth, which is um, stop doing that. That's one thing. I'm getting so angry. Stop doing that. And there's something about that that has me feel afraid. Can we talk about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Uh, if you're in bed, if you're not satisfied in your, you talk about like protecting someone's ego, and you feel like stopping halfway through, you say, hey, I know this is inconvenient, but I just don't want to anymore.
Yeah.
There's no reason. I just don't want to anymore. Can we just kiss?
Yeah. Knowing, like we both agree that that is what's called for. And I would add, knowing that you, in doing so, you're actually pointing the relationship towards something that will be better for both people. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Then what is
Like
it
you're
for men?
not, um, well, actually,
And
before
I
we
actually
make
want
that
to add
switch,
something to what I was going to say too. So keep going. I want to add one more thing.
oh,
I'm going to add one more thing. I'm just going to interrupt right now. So the other
please
thing
do. Yeah.
is in telling the truth, it's not just telling the truth and being like, he got upset. It's understanding that when you tell the truth, you give up control of that. Like, you can't control how the other person is going to respond, react, or be.
That's right.
Part of
You
the
are, you
Yeah.
have to take the risk.
Yeah. And then it's just like being able to like weather the, like standing for yourself in the face of someone thrashing, because when we change the dynamic, people sometimes thrash.
Yeah.
Hey, you're changing the dynamic. Or, I'm not going to say it as obviously as that, you've changed. I don't understand so and so, but actually being able to just like, I know I've changed. I know that this is something a little different, and I want to shift things a little bit. Can we have a
Yeah.
conversation? Like actually being able to withstand the winds that come when you shift around dynamics.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, what were you going to say?
Oh God, so many different things. First of all, I don't know if this is gender specific, but I know that both men and women have their own version of this.
Hmm.
But as you grow in your area of emotional intelligence and how to actually relate with another human being in a healthy way, and you're dismantling all your, your dysfunction from your childhood and all that stuff, like there comes to be a belief where it's like, oh, I'm angry. I tend to be angry, and my anger tends to cause wreckage, and so my anger is bad. So the answer is to actually suppress and pretend, do my best to suppress my anger, in order to not, cause this issue. Now you have a whole
That
bunch of
works
garbage.
really well.
Yeah, now you have a whole bunch of garbage in the basement that is gonna explode the basement at some point, right? That's not the answer. The answer is actually to learn. When I say emotional intelligence, being able to experience the whole range of healthy emotions, like when you're angry, to know how to be angry, to
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
feel your anger and express your anger in a way that doesn't cause wreckage. We've
Yeah.
talked about that on an earlier call, but basically there's a belief we have that I'm an asshole, so I have to pretend,
Yeah.
instead of rooting to the base of what it is that makes you an asshole and
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
making the internal shifts. So I'm not talking about being disrespectful. Like everything we're talking about being in terms of being your full self, can it can be done in a way that actually is honoring and respectful of your partner. These
Yeah.
are not mutually exclusive things.
No, in fact, telling the truth in a way that actually is like vulnerable, like the real truth underneath, is actually the honorable thing and the loving thing to do. But I want to go back to even like we started out with the dynamic itself. I think a really good place to start is just owning that there is a dynamic. Like I remember Ken, I remember Ken and I, this was a while back. Ken, do you remember this conversation? Ken and I we were having this conversation,
I don't
and
know what you're talking about.
I want to tell you this in a second. And he was like, I don't know what the hell we were talking about. We weren't even talking, he was talking about someone that he was coaching. And I think I had something to say. And he went, do you think that I should be coaching women? And I hemmed and hawed a little bit. And I was like, and he went, no, no, no. Do you think I should be coaching women? And I was like, all right, I'm going to give you the dirty truth. It is not the full truth, but it is like the quick and dirty truth that's on top of like the feelings that I have underneath. I'm just going to give you the truth. And then I was like, I said the litany of things that was there, like the crud on top. I was like,
Say a few of them.
men have been inserting themselves into women since the beginning of fucking time. Like, enough, enough. We have someone in the White House. We have this, we have that. We have people making laws. We have so and so. Like, get the hell out of women. Like, leave women alone. Like, those were so. But understand that I wasn't like, you're an asshole. I was like, all right, I'm going to give you the sort of crud on the top. I don't think that's the end of the sentence, but I'm just going to give you the first thing that's up top. And then I started saying and saying and saying and saying and saying. And at least we were actually in the ballpark of what was actually fucking going on.
This is such a perfect example to talk about the things that the things we want to talk about in the 3 minutes we have.
3 minutes that we have left.
Yeah. So I want to point out a few things. First of all, I had to make the space for Anna to say things that weren't pretty, weren't comfortable, to really say them and to really hear them. Like, this woman in this moment does not believe that I should be coaching women. Like, that is that I needed to actually be able to hear that and make space for that being true at the time, and actually allow her to say it in the full, unfiltered, everything, all of the history that was behind this message. That I needed to actually give her the space to say and be and think the way she says and bees and thinks. Then she needed to actually trust me enough and trust the relationship enough and respect me enough. Like, Anna can get angry at me in a way that doesn't feel like she disrespects me, right? So she had to actually trust that it was more valuable to us, to our relationship, and to her, to not pretend that she feels any differently than the way she feels right now, and to say those things.
Yeah. And another thing, yeah, go ahead.
Those viewpoints, I believe, shifted, but I want to point out that doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't matter that somewhere along the way they shifted. What was important is that she be able to say those things and that I was able to hear them. That is absolutely necessary for a healthy relationship.
Yeah. In fact, I think that there's this way in which, and I mentioned a little bit that we have a minute and a half. I think I think a lot of the modalities that are out there are really, really helpful, except when they get in the way of just two people talking to each other. Like, what I did in that moment was not typically feminine, was not like, it wasn't it was just literally my own frustration, given the history of the world, given the history, yada, 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 me being like, all right, I'm going to speak to you human to human, full sovereign adult to full sovereign adult. I'm just going to say the thing. I'm not going to blame you or bludgeon you with it. I'm literally just going to give you the unvarnished, like stuff that's there. And then you're like, yeah, I could see that. And then as a man, my partner, he was like, didn't take it personally, had enough confidence, had enough intuition, had enough, everything inside of himself to be like, yeah, I could actually see your point of view and where it is that you're coming from.
Yeah. The justified rage at men and all of the harm that men have done. Mm-hmm. And that this played into how she feels about me having the gall to coach women.
inside their power. Like, I want you to know that every single one of
About their
these calls,
power. That's
yeah,
right.
and every single one of these calls, I'm always telling on myself in a way that is like, here's a particular sort of yucky spot about myself. Say la vie, it is what it is. If it serves, it serves. We're getting off in about 30 seconds. This is like a second and a half on a much larger conversation. Ken and I have been talking to a lot of our own clients. We work with couples. We've been working with our own individual clients. And the reason why we wanted to do these lives is because there's just ongoing similar themes that we have addressed over and over and over and over again with the people that we speak to and coach. And we wanted to start offering it as a larger conversation. And the both of us are starting to genuinely think about doing a pilot and masterclass for people who are coupled up or want to be coupled up. So that's something that we're actually in the works about.
It's in the design stage, and it is launching early next year.
Yeah, in January sometime.
For individuals and for couples who want to learn more about how to be in partnered relationship. Now, if you're interested, put a little comment in and say, "Hey, I'm interested in your program."
Yeah.
We're not gonna immediately reach out and sell you anything. We just want to gauge interest.
Yeah. And then also, if you have questions, this was such a quick shot. It's just because of timing, and I personally feel frustrated that we didn't get a chance to really delve into it. If you have questions, if there's something else that you want, like sort of dived into a little bit more, great, Monica, let us know. All right. And for that, we are signing off. It was too soon. Goodbye.